2015, I snuck into X Games and I did a 720 front flip.
Crazy.
Never broken a bone before, and like,
No way.
No,
You're
no
kidding me.
Ryan Williams is currently one of the best action sports athletes in the world. The Australian exploded onto the Nitro Circus World Tour as a scooter rider before adding in BMX to the mix.
What's he got on tap? What? He's just gonna let go of the bike and then catch it. Perfect.
Over the last decade, he has won countless gold medals at X Games and landed at least 20 world's first tricks.
The best trick I've ever landed was having my son. I had a drink of alcohol for a year and 3 weeks. I went through school, I got accepted into university and to be a civil engineer.
Where do we go from here? And then you came along in the BMX side and started doing like stuff. People were like, what do we call that? Would you be on OnlyFans? Would you sign for OnlyFans if the offer was there?
Guys, this is a brand new podcast, and the goal is to interview the most iconic figures in sport and health from around the world. But I need to ask you guys a big favor to please like and subscribe, because it would make a huge difference to the size of this podcast, and ultimately, the bigger the podcast gets, the bigger the guests. Enjoy this episode.
Sweet. Ryan Williams, dude, firstly, congrats on becoming a dad, man.
I know, best trick I ever landed.
What's it been like adjusting to having a mini you in the world?
I think it's just kind of like more scheduled days. You just have to kind of schedule everything a lot better. You're not as free. You kind of you wake up really obviously earlier, and you can't just like leave and do your own thing. You kind of got to get a little human ready to go as well. So it's kind of it's honestly like a good thing. It like gets you more scheduled, more focused, more motivated, and then you have the best. I have a boy, so the best little boy ever. I just get to see him like start to understand the world, and it's kind of like you get to live again with that person. It's cool.
And I'm assuming they can't travel with you, or they're able to come with you for like some of your events and things like that?
So he's only 2 months old, so I can't bring him really overseas. I mean, I could bring him overseas, but the problem was the flight I just did was 16 hours. Like, it's like literally one of the longest flights you could do. So I didn't want to bring him on that flight, like the first time, because I'm not sure how he's going to react, how he's going to be on the flight. So we want to kind of do like a little practice first on a shorter flight before we chuck him on a 16-hour flight and then go across the world and be in a complete different time zone. So, but I can bring him with me. I will bring him to X Games and the big ones, but for this one, it's just too quick.
Yeah. Not rad. I'm sure that'll be also nice for you, not having to. I'm sure you're thinking about him back home and sort of split your mindset a bit being at the event.
Yeah. I'll probably be more worried when he's at the event, but he'll be right.
And obviously I haven't had a child yet, so I can't speak to this, but doing what you're doing, has having a kid had any impact on your sort of mindset, like going into events or taking certain risks?
I feel like I was worried about that happening, but it's been like the opposite. I think I've always been super calculated, and that's why I've never broken a bone before and like never had
no way.
In my life. No,
you're kidding me.
No, I swear, I never had a surgery in my whole life. I've fractured bones and I smashed my teeth out, but I haven't had a cast on my body for about 12 years, I reckon.
Yeah. You got somebody watching over you, man. That's insane.
Yeah, right. So I just feel like I'm super calculated, and then like obviously I've had this the child now, and like I have my son, but it's like it just made me more calculated. But I was worried it would make me like second guess myself, but it just makes me more motivated and more calculated, and it's done well so far. I've won I won the first 2 contests I did after having my son, so it's all right.
Dude, that's insane. I can't believe you've never broken a bone. That's I had no idea. I mean, with the amount of crashes and things that you must have had over the years, and like that's incredible.
Yeah.
Do you think it's just like? Do you think it's just luck, or do you think it's you kind of know how to crash, or?
Probably a bit of both. It's probably a bit of both because you can always know how to crash and still break something because it's like reach a certain limit where like you're doing something so gnarly that it's like if you fall, it's kind of hard not to. But I feel like I've just gotten lucky and I just kind of know how to crash and yeah, I don't know. I guess I calculate my tricks so much that I always have a bail point. It's like I'm a professional crasher as well as action sports, a rider, whatever I do.
And like when you are, I mean, because when people watch you from the outside, you think like this dude is nuts. Like, you know, you've landed so many world's first, for example. I mean, what is that? Do you have fear for first of all? And second of all, what is that process like when you're about to drop in to try something that no one else has ever landed or sometimes never even attempted?
Yeah, I think I definitely always feel fear. I think fear is something that is natural and is like, it's because you're smart, your brain's smart, it knows to feel fear to make you more calculated. I feel like the fear is what makes you think about what you're doing more and then you calculate more. Okay, this is what like is going to happen. But it's obviously sometimes it's like just full send mode at like X Games or something like that. That's when it's kind of, I break the wall of like being as calculated and I kind of step into the realm of more dangerous and risk taking. And that's because the risk is worth the reward. So, but I feel like just doing a new world's first trick, I kind of just go into it thinking like I have a simulation in my head of how this is going to go. And then like, I feel like 90% of the time it plays out how I think it will. And then the other 10% is where I need to like be ready to bail or like get ready to crash.
Do you know like what's your feeling like when you're trying something that you haven't landed? Like, what's the percentage like in your head that you feel like you're going to land it versus not land it?
Okay, so there's different percentages, definitely. Like, so at a skate park, say, there's probably like a 5% chance or like even a 1% chance sometimes or less because it sometimes takes me tricks like takes me 500 attempts to land a trick at the skate park. And that's like for the more technical tricks. And then the kind of, you can kind of like, I'll do an example. So triple flip 360 on BMX. So I've only done 2 triple backflips. Still, I've only done 2 triple backflips on BMX. So basically, I kind of have done it to my airbag a lot of times. So that's obviously a huge help. So I've already done the trick to my airbag a bunch of times. Let's say 20 times. And it's worked 18 out of those 20 times. So I know that the risk is, okay, maybe there's a chance that this is going to happen. And if it does, then I'm probably going to be knocked out. But as long as I can take off the ramp like this and it feels a certain way that I remember, that's when I know it's working properly. So that trick, like a triple flip 360, I got that second try. And I knew that on the first attempt it was going wrong as soon as I took it off the lip. But I definitely didn't anticipate that. I thought, yeah, it's going to be perfect. But it definitely wasn't. But luckily, I could kind of maneuver myself out of it. But I don't know. It's just like, it depends what kind of trick you're talking about. Because on a triple flip 360, I obviously like, yeah, I'm definitely going to land it. But then let's say like a front flip, I don't know, triple tail whip or something that's like a lot of combos. It's like, okay, I'm just going to give myself like a 5 or 10% chance of landing this, but I can feel it out like on the first one. Whereas on a bigger trick like a triple flip 360, it's kind of like you don't have the opportunity to like just chill on that. It's kind of like all or nothing.
chill on a freaking dude.
But
that's
like
ridiculous.
on my ramp, you can do stuff like a front flip combos. You can kind of chill because I can always like bail to my butt. And even at like the X Games dirt, I know at least on a single flip variation, you can kind of get out of it as long as you know it's going wrong. Like the only time it really stings you is when you're like, yes, I'm landing it. And then all of a sudden, like you're landing and you're not landing. And that's when you really get hurt.
Yeah. Do you know, like, can you judge where you are in the air? Because like, so I've done a flip to dirt, but one. And that was like, I can't imagine doing like a triple flip? Like how the hell, and never mind then throwing in, if you're doing like combos, like how do you know what's happening? Like there's just so much going on.
So the more like it's kind of like it's hard to explain sitting down, but basically, like you could spin around in circles with your arms out, right? This is how I try to explain it to people that don't even do action sports. It's like you can spin around in circles with your arms out, and the faster you're spinning, the harder it is to pull your arms closer to you, right?
Yeah.
So it's the same feeling, but I just like high-tuned my senses to calculate, okay, if the bike's getting pulled away from me this hard, like I know, okay, this is probably how fast I'm spinning. And then you kind of use your eyes, but I feel like it's 20% eyes, 80% feel.
Crazy. Okay. I think you make it sound a lot more simple than I think it really is. But maybe we can, switch gears a little bit, just going back to what made you you. I mean, talk maybe a little bit about your childhood. Like, how did you become you? Was this something that you wanted to do since you were like 5 years old, or where did action sports sort of come about?
Yeah, true. I don't know. I honestly couldn't even remember the back that far to like when it actually clicked. But I remember there was a movie called The Ultimate X, and I had this DVD, right? And I think that's all I really had, because I didn't have internet when I was young. Like I didn't have internet till I was about 13 years old, I reckon. So all I had was like what I had. Maybe sometimes I'd go to my nan's and she'd have internet, and then I'd download like 30 videos onto my iPod, and then I'd be able to watch those videos. But there's just certain videos that I just had, and obviously at the start I had this Ultimate X movie, and it had guys like Travis Pastrana, Matt Hoffman, and the songs are like burnt into my brain. So
I remember that.
Yeah, I love listening to the songs now. Like it takes me back in time, but I know I had that video, that movie, and I was like, I didn't care what I was kind of doing. Like, obviously, I watched the motorbike guys, but I'd never been on a motorbike. I had like a skateboard, but it was from like Kmart, like a cheap Kmart skateboard. And then I don't know, I had rollerblades. That's actually what I started on. So I ended up, and obviously, when I first started, these are rollerblades that you go around in circles at the rollerdrome on. So
yeah.
But that was all I had. So it was like, let's go to the skate park and like see what I can do, because this is so cool. Like I love the idea of action sports. I don't think back when I started, obviously it wasn't as much as like I didn't realize why I liked it so much, but I think as like it grew on me, like it's more of an art. Like there's no right way to do action sports. That's my favorite part about it. I feel like all the other sports, it was like football, it's like take the ball, cross the line. I know there's art to it, because you can kind of like step this way, step that way. But I feel like just the rules, there is no rules. That's the one thing. It's not like from point A to point B, who's the fastest. It's kind of like what's cool, like how like it's like dancing. It's like there's so many different ways to do it, and I think that's what I loved most about it. But anyway, I just had rollerblades, went down the skate park. No one else was rollerblading, but I didn't care, because I could still jump the jumps that the BMXs were jumping, or I could still try to grind the rail that the skateboarders were grinding. And then I kind of just picked up whatever I had. Like I feel like I bought everything. I feel like I ended up obviously starting on rollerblades because that's all I had, but then I bought a skateboard, then I bought a scooter, I bought a BMX bike, and then I just kind of had it all. And then I would just do whatever everyone else was doing, because I feel like that's the best thing about the skate park, is like doing, like having, like learning tricks with your friends is kind of like the best thing you can do in action sports, I feel.
And I mean, your main thing was scooters, right? Before you switched to BMX.
Well, technically, when I was 8 years old, my main thing was rollerblading. And then I did that till I was about 12, but I was doing it by myself. Like, because no one rollerbladed where I lived, but I would just do front flips and back flips and 540s and jump the spines, because that's what all the BMXs did and all the scooter riders did. And then eventually, like, I went to a contest, and all the rollerbladers were like grinding rails, and they were like grinding like 20 feet. And I was like, I could barely grind 3 feet. And I was just doing flips. And then I'm like, oh, wait a minute, maybe I'm not rollerblading properly. You know, like I was like, maybe I'm not rollerblading properly. But then I think I eventually kind of just was borrowing people's scooter, because I found so much fun in like learning tricks with people. So then eventually, like, I'd be at the skate park on my rollerblades, but then I would borrow people's scooter and their shoes so I could ride their scooter, because I didn't bring shoes to the skate park. I was on my rollerblades. So then I would end up borrowing people's shoes to ride a scooter, and then eventually I just bought a scooter, and that was what I stuck with because it was like the cheapest thing I could buy after rollerblades.
And then when, like, how long was it before you sort of dabbled in BMX?
I raced BMX. So my mum was a professional BMX racer. So I did race around the track, like BMX racing. And then I would kind of like go over to the skate park on my race bike. But my mum would always get angry at me because it's not built to go at the skate park. Like the rims are like this thin. So she would be pissed off. And then I had my scooter, and I knew I could kind of do BMX. But I think that I kind of just got a BMX after maybe a year or two of riding a scooter, mainly at the skate park. And that was just because then I could afford it. Like I bought my first complete BMX bike, and then I would bring my scooter and my BMX and my rollerblades to the skate park.
That is a wild combination. I feel like you almost like made scooters cool. Like again, because I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I felt like scooters got a lot of hate.
No, yeah, they did 100%. I mean, but when you're a 12-year-old kid, you don't really care what people are like. People are like used to tell me, "Oh, you're not going to get anywhere on a scooter," and I was like, "I'm not trying to get anywhere. I'm trying to just have fun," you know. So like, didn't ever really bother me. And obviously, they'd say, "Oh, well, these scooter tricks are easy because it's on a scooter," and I feel like I didn't really care about that until I was in Nitro and like actually a professional scooter, like doing Nitro, because then I started to feel like, well, I could do these tricks on a BMX bike if I really tried, I think. Because I was doing both, but I was only a professional scooter rider at the time.
Yeah. And what was, speaking of Nitro, like, so what was your relationship with your parents like? And like, how did that conversation go down when you were like, I want to be a professional action sports athlete and
Well, I was already doing like tours with scooters. Like I'd already traveled overseas and done a tour in America on just my scooter, being a professional scooter rider. But I feel like Nitro took it kind of to the next level because Nitro Circus was obviously they were doing live shows in front of thousands of people. So that became like, I guess my mum's seen me do YouTube videos, and the YouTube videos, like my web edits got, I guess they got millions of views eventually, but I guess doing the show in front of thousands of people and getting paid like per show, and it was like a decent amount for a 17-year-old kid. It was like, it was cool. But I feel like at first my mum was always worried, but then she just kind of got more confident as I was confident, and like obviously not breaking any bones and and like sometimes I'd hurt myself a little bit, but she could see that like I was getting good and I was calculated. I wasn't just being stupid and like hurting myself or like going above my abilities. I'd kind of just push my abilities to a new level and stick within them. And then, I don't know, Nitro, I guess, was a huge thing. She was stoked. My mom's crazy, by the way. My mom's like crazier than me, so.
I guess, I mean, the fact that she was a BMX racer is not your typical mum. So, I guess she was pretty stoked to have her son as like a action sports athlete.
Yeah.
And not so like the Nitro Circus thing. I mean, I remember I saw before they even started, obviously all the world tour and stuff. I saw those first Nitro Circus movies with Travis and stuff. Like, I don't know, it was not that long after they brought out that X Games movie, or Ultimate X or whatever it was called.
Yeah.
How did that come about? Like, how did you get hooked up with them and get on that journey?
Yeah, it's kind of funny. I guess they did have they had an OG scooter rider. They called him Scoots. It was Andrew Prasad, and he's actually the owner of like a really old scooter company that's still around. It's called Proto Scooters, and he lived in California. And I guess when they did the testing for Nitro Circus Live, he was the one they found, and he ended up going out there and doing the practice, and then he did the show. And then they knew that there was like, because the scootering was quite like getting quite big there, and they knew there was a lot of noise around it, and so they had the one scooter rider, Andrew Prasad, but he was I don't know how old he was back then, but he was quite like an older rider, and he was doing backflips, and he'd try a front flip here and there. I think he even tried to like double backflip, but I think that they knew that maybe, oh well, like let's see what some other riders could do, because they knew that. Like Andrew is a good rider, but his main thing was like making scooters, and he was like an OG. So they were like, oh, let's see, like get some new blood into this and see like what they can do. So they came to Australia, and then this company called Scooter Hut sponsored, like they paid for a shop out the front. And then I guess Nitro talked to them. They said, hey, like, do you know 3 Australian scooter riders that would like to come out and try practice? And I was just like the first person they thought of, even though I wasn't even sponsored by Scooter Hut or anything. They just knew straight away, like I was the top person. They like the first person they asked. And then there was a guy called Mitch Baldry and Max Peters. And so we were 3 pro scooter riders from Australia, and they flew us to Albury, and they were like, here's the ramp, here's the waiver. Like, if you want to go. And yeah, that's kind of how it went. It was wild.
When was that exactly? Which year?
So I was 17 years old. Oh, mate, yeah, I would have been 17 years old. So 13 years ago.
Crazy.
So yeah, 2012.
Crazy. And how did things sort of escalate from that point? Of actually like doing your first one to now?
Yeah, so we did practice, and I literally just front flipped the ramp. I didn't even bother with like straight jump, because the jump's like 40 feet, and I feel like sometimes it's easier to like set in motion, like, yeah, especially on a scooter. Scooter's kind of like a little bit like less stable, so just it's hard to keep it like flat through the air. But anyway, I fronty did practice, and then I actually tried to do the first ever double front flip on scooter in practice. I tried it 2 times, and then they were like, hey, like you did this, you can do jump in the show, but you're only gonna get 2 jumps. And I'm like, oh, okay. And then like we're in the contraption segment, so it's funny because they're like, they obviously have the BMX, best trick, skateboard, and they like that's one segment, and then we were like in the contraption segment, so with like the trike, the lounge chair, a Barbie car, like, and then they're like, yeah, and these scooter riders, they're in our skate parks, and we want them kicked out. So here they are on the ramp. Let's hope they crash. That's literally what they said when I dropped in.
Geez, a lot of faith given to you guys there.
Yeah, right. And then I actually landed the double front flip in the show, like my first show. Landed the world's first double front flip, and I remember like I landed it, and then I'm walking back, and everyone's like there and like cheering, and then Travis was like, "That was like the sickest thing I've seen on scooter," and I was like, this is the craziest moment ever. And then pretty much from then on, I was like on tour. So from then, I was literally on every show.
And you mentioned Travis there, and I'm pretty sure. I've heard either an interview or the podcast with Travis not too long ago, and he said that, in his opinion, you were one of the best action, if not the best action sports athlete at the moment in the world. And so, obviously, that means a lot coming from someone like him. And so, what do you think about him and his career?
Yeah, I feel like Travis is a huge inspiration to me. I feel like I don't know. He was a legend. I've seen him on DVDs. I've seen him on the Ultimate X. I knew he was like this motorbike guy. I knew he was like the greatest of all time at freestyle motocross, right? And so I didn't ride freestyle motocross, but I absolutely loved just everything in action sports. So I always held him like to this upper pedestal. I was like, this guy is like the greatest, one of the greatest in action sports ever. So like he was like held at this. So when I first met him, I'm like, wow, like he's like a god, and then but he is like the most level-headed guy. Like when I was with him, I held him to here, but he held me to like level, like he was everyone's best friend. He was always down to like sign autographs to the fans, get photos. Like he's like everyone's best friend is the best way to explain it. And to me, seeing that and after holding him to like such a high pedestal, like it became a really big inspiration to me to like always kind of, you know, give time and day to everyone that I meet and try to like be a positive role model to everyone and like always try to give people time when I meet them. So that was he's always been a huge inspiration to me, and he still is. But yeah, it's just crazy now. I like to be his friend, and it's just like, I don't know. I've actually got a tattoo on his leg. Like he did a tattoo of.
No way.
Yeah, on his leg. I'm sure people see it. I'm sure if you could search online, that people talking about it. But
yeah,
he literally has like 40 different tattoos on his upper thigh, and it's like all different people that he meet. Like he's all his best friends or whatever. And I actually have a tattoo, and it's Sid the Sloth on a scooter because he thinks I look like Sid the Sloth. So it's kind of a mean tattoo, but that's all right.
yeah, it's pretty cool. Well, it's pretty cool to hear that because, like, I mean, for me growing up, like, I wouldn't say I ever had like an idol, but if I had to pick someone that was really inspirational for me, and not that I was doing freestyle motocross, but I always, the way that he was able to, you know, pick himself up after having some gnarly injuries and just like never quit, like, and just keep going, not just one sport, but like every sport, and always was like, no matter what happened, like he was like, we're going again, like after just duct tape it. And also he seems on camera like always such a nice guy and like down to earth, but obviously some people are like that on camera and not like that in real life. So it is cool to hear that that's your experience with him as well.
Yeah, no, he's literally the one of the greatest human beings I've ever met. And yeah, I didn't take into how many broken bones. I don't know if you've seen like
dude,
his
I know.
X-ray, but it's like, but then he still is like breaking a bone like like 2 years ago or something, like breaks his pelvis and nearly bleeds out. Like it's just, he needs to settle down, to be honest.
Dude, that was actually my next question. I mean, you obviously, I mean, you're friends with him. I mean, how does he sort of let on how he's doing? I mean, how is he doing these days after all the surgeries? I know he had a hip replacement or knee replacement, or maybe both.
Yeah, I think he's doing a lot better. I think that he finally, like after doing a double backflip 360 on a motorbike, he's kind of like, okay, like I think that. Yeah, but the thing is, like, he did that, and then he's like, "Oh, I'm kind of like retired," and then he went and did like a backflip to like front flip on a motorbike.
Yeah, I saw that.
I don't know if you've seen that, but it's just like you can't like stop him, but then you just need to like steer him to like something that's not as dangerous, but still gives the thrill seeking. Like, because I feel like he's just a thrill seeker, but he does get it through other people, which is the same as me. Like, he has Pastrana land. And like if something cool's happening there, I feel like he feels pretty satisfied. So that's why I think he's building like a new half flat for his wife, Lindsay. And I'm sure that's just the way that he can like live through her. Like if she can land new tricks all the time, then he'll kind of feel like he's like still, I don't know, achieving something. Because yeah,
dude, yeah, it's wild. I know. I even saw. I can't remember when it was. Maybe 2015. He actually did He did a downhill race. He went to Whistler, I think it was, and he did like the ADH. And I think he backflipped in his run as well. I mean, I don't even know like if he'd ever been on a mountain bike before, and just like rocks up like Travis Pastrana on a mountain bike and like sends it.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, it's just like built into him. I don't know. He's just like he's just that dude. But I know he's good on everything he touches, I think. But like obviously. He's done like double backflip 360s on mountain bike. I just feel like when he's around, he just tries anything. So it's just, he's really good at buck hunter too. He's just really competitive too. So even if you have a game of beer pong with him, he will be 110% in that beer pong game.
And to mention the downhill stuff and the Crankworx stuff, I mean, is that something, have you ever like been on a mountain bike at any point in your career or ever planned to be?
Yeah, I've done some world firsts at home though, on the mountain bike. But I think I have so much respect for it that I almost know that it's not something you can just jump on and just do. Like I could jump on and do a best trick. I feel like I could definitely come and win a best trick, but it's not something like Crankworx is kind of something where you need to like do at least a year work of just, you know, riding a mountain bike and actually putting in the work. I have too much respect to say I could just jump on and do Crankworx. Like a lot of people always tell me, why don't you do it? But it's like, well, it's because these guys they dedicated to mountain biking and doing Crankworx. So how am I meant to compete with the guys that are like fully committed? You know, it's like I could if I fully committed, but I'd have to put in like the work. It's not just something you can just do. Like, I don't think there's not many sports right now anymore that you can just like, oh, I'm so skilled or so like that I can just jump on it and win. It's not like that at all anymore.
I'd love to see that, to be honest. I mean, I know Ryan Nyquist obviously did it a few years ago, but yeah, it would be pretty cool to have someone like yourself. Like, I mean, obviously, you don't know.
Yeah, and I feel like even Ryan Nyquist is a great example. Like he was when he did the switch, he was probably like still on top in BMX, like and really one of the best BMX riders. And he switched to mountain bike. I'm not sure how he did, but I'm sure it was super hard for him to even like to get like on the podium, you know. So it's and this comes back to like to calculated risk. It's like, yeah, maybe I could Hail Mary and land it, but then it's like there's also a really good chance that I'll break myself off because the Crankworx isn't small. It's not small jumps. It's not soft jumps. Like it's full on.
And I mean, you're an action sport athlete. I'm assuming you kind of follow a lot of that sort of discipline. Yes. I mean, what other sides do you follow? I mean, have you seen any, for example, of the downhill stuff? Like, what's your sort of thoughts on that? Is that something that you've ever tried or thought about?
Like racing?
Yeah, I mean, not racing, but like just like doing some riding, like downhill riding, for example.
Oh yeah. I mean, the one time I did something in New Zealand with Nitro Circus, and I just fucking went straight off a berm, like, because you have to like lean so far into. I don't know, maybe it was because I'm like on a mountain bike and I just felt different. I was like, yeah, I can take this turn at this speed, and I like got 80% around the corner, and then all of a sudden I like was going off the corner, and I rode off a cliff. Oh, and then I hit a tree stump. I hit it. I did this hip. I don't know if you've seen this clip, but I was with Nitro, and they're like, we're doing this PR like for Nitro World Games in Brisbane. They're like, we're doing this. We got to go like promote Brisbane and the amazing mountain bike trails. And I'm like, yeah, I'll do it. And then anyway, I jumped this like hip, and then I went widey and I hit a tree stump, and I front flipped and I snapped the downhill clean in half the frame. Like, I don't have the best track record on downhill, like not doing tricks. Like, sure, on a hardtail or a dual suspension doing tricks on my ramp, yeah, we're good. We've got a good track record. But downhill racing, not a good track record.
It's funny because, like, I think when someone watches you, like, it's so impressive because if they're watching someone like jumping high in the air and they're spinning and flipping, and it looks like it's like a acrobatic trick in front of their eyes. And when someone watches like a downhill race, especially if you watch on TV, it's like cool. Like, I mean, they're still like, oh, it's cool, they're going fast, but like it doesn't look so dramatic, you know. It's like, oh, it doesn't look that steep, it doesn't look, you know. And the funny thing is, like, from what the sounds of it, you said you haven't even broken a bone, and I don't know any downhill rider that hasn't broken a bone because, like, yeah, like
you're going so fast, and you got trees to hit, you got cliffs to go off the side of. I just feel like when you're trying to, like, I'm not trying to do my tricks as fast as I can. It's like if I was riding an 80-foot jump, and like, okay, I'm going to try my world's first. Like, I'm going to try this trick for the first time, and it's on an 80-foot jump. Like, then you would see me in hospital. You would see me in surgery. But like, because I have a jump that's always the same, it's built to be perfect. And then at X Games, like, the jumps are built to be 4 tricks. Then I'm not going 300 miles an hour. Like, I don't know. It's kind of, I just feel like, when you're pushing the limit, when you're doing a downhill race or you're just doing downhill, you're like pushing the limits and you're like, I don't know. Obviously, I'm pushing the limits. Like, I'm gonna land on my neck. It's not like no one's hurt riding a BMX bike, but I just feel like when there's different levels to it, it's like it's just when you crash, you probably don't crash as much as I do, but when you do crash, it's so fast, or all of a sudden you're falling. Like, whereas I kind of anticipate the fall.
Yeah, I mean, so I did my first flip when I was 30 years old, and I'd already had some big injuries, broken both my hips already. Like, and I remember people at the time were like, "What the hell? Like, why would you do something like that?" After the injuries, and I was like, "Well, to be honest, in my opinion, I think there's probably less risk, doing something like that than racing at 70 k's an hour with trees next to you. Like,
You're right. That's 100% right.
And you mentioned X Games there. So you did things kind of, I wouldn't say opposite, but most athletes go first the competition route and then into like the performing show route. And you kind of did things the other way around.
Well, that's because you need an X Games invite. It's like an invitation. So, and I was trying to ride the mega ramp. Like, I wasn't trying to do dirt or street or skate park, because that's just not what I didn't think obviously I didn't know I'd be so good at dirt, but because I didn't think about how big the jumps were and if I could translate my tricks to that like smaller jump, which is kind of funny because the dirt jumps aren't small to other people, but to me the dirt jumps are small.
Yeah.
And it's about fitting the trick. So then it was like, I want to get in the mega ramp, and the mega ramp's like, I don't know, obviously it's a dangerous contest. And the thing about X Games is like, I'm sure there's contests in your world that it's the same, but like if you get an invite, you're taking away someone else's invitation. So it's like, even though I could do all these tricks on a jump, like the jump, they didn't think I could do anything on the quarter pipe. Okay. And then they wanted proof, but then there's only like, at the time there was only like 1 or 2 mega ramps in the USA. So it's like, how do you prove you can do the mega ramp unless you fly to America and specifically film a video on it? And then like now you have to go risk your life on a mega ramp just to try get an invite, like it was hard to make the decision to do it, but then I did it and I got an invite. But there was a good like 3 or 4 years where I was begging X Games to do the mega ramp contest, and I just never got an invitation.
It's insane. Like, it's insane with all the stuff that you were doing on like the Nitro tour, and you still.
Well, Resi doesn't count to them. They thought I could only do my tricks to the Resi. That was the argument. And then they said I couldn't do the quarter pipe, but I'm crazy. I could do it. I knew I could do it. It's funny because the run that won me my first gold medal is a run that I could have done 4 years before.
That's what year was that? The first gold? You remember?
Good question. Because
that must have been.
I'd be guessing, but I think it was like 2018.
That must have been a big like FU to like all the guys that didn't want you to come into X Games.
I don't know if there was people that didn't want me to come in, but I think there was people that like the guys that were in the X Games, the guys that actually wrote it, they wouldn't mind if I was in it, because I actually in 2017 or maybe early 2015, I snuck into X Games and I did a 720 front flip. I think you call it a twister, but I did a 720 front flip in 2015 after sneaking into X Games, because they usually just have a wristband, but I had a full bodysuit and it went over my wrist. So I just walked in with everyone else, and then I just did a 720 front flip over the gap. Yeah, so I literally broke into X Games in 2000 because we were there doing a demo for scooters, but all we were on a 3-foot mini in like the merchandise segment, and they were like letting us do demos on a 3-foot mini. And then anyway, I brought my bike because I knew like maybe I could get in. And then, I literally just put my full bodysuit on and walked over with my full face helmet, bike, and I looked apart and I just went up and I did it.
That is wild. And like, did no one notice, or like, surely someone must have seen you
after the fact, but I made sure like I kind of got in. I think it took me 3 tries, I think. Yeah. So the first 2 tries, I like kind of fell over, and then I was like, oh gosh, like, because the last thing you want to do is like sneak on, get hurt, and then I'd never be in X Games, you know. So I just like snuck on. I got like I think 2 or 3 jumps. I landed my 720 front flip, which was like no one like that. So technically, it was the world's first because it was the first time like in people's world to wood. But I did it, and then I was like, I got the footage, you know, and then I just got out of there before they like realized. They did realize like probably after the fact, but I was healthy. I didn't hurt myself. No one got hurt. No one got frustrated or angry, and I was out of there with my 720 fronting.
That's so funny. And that was on the mega round.
About 2 years.
That's insane. Like, what the hell? Like, you think like, what have I got to do?
Because I only aired the quarter. I didn't do any tricks on the quarter pipe after, but I feel like that was the dangerous part. So I didn't want to push it and like hurt myself, and then everyone would be in trouble.
I mean, most people from the outside, what's X Games like? What is the vibe? Like, what is it actually like being there as an athlete? Like, because I think, I mean, obviously, and what's the situation? Because I felt like maybe I'm wrong, but I felt like over some years they maybe lost a little bit of the hype. Like back in the day, like 10 years ago, when it was like at the LA Coliseum and stuff, it was like there was one event, and now there's multiple events around the world. What's your take on like sort of where X Games is at the moment?
Oh yeah, I think X Games is definitely back, but I agree with you that like it was kind of, there was a few X Games like all over the place, and then maybe it dilutes how like crazy it is. But I feel like the American X Games is always insane, and it always gets a lot of like if you do something crazy at the American X Games, it usually goes very viral. Like I feel like that's where I got a lot of eyes on me, and like I think because even when I did my first X Games, I didn't even win, but I did the nothing front bike flip, and it was like ESPN top like 2 moment or something of the week, and it like went everywhere. And I remember that was like a huge thing that I didn't even I just landed a trick in my run, and it went super viral. So I feel like it obviously has a lot of hype behind it still. But I think that the vibe at X Games is incredible. Like everyone is watching everyone's events. The skateboarders watch the motocross watch the BMX, like the BMX watch the skateboarding. And I think that it's funny because I was like a scooter rider still, but then everyone was like riding my scooter because I brought it to the X Games. And like in the rider lounge, everyone's like riding my scooter, trying like tail whips on flat or like just cruising around on it. And it's funny because people's perception is like, oh, they wouldn't even like want to talk to me because I'm a scooter rider. Like when I first did X Games, that was like the stereotypical idea that everyone had, but it was like the opposite. Everyone was like super nice. The skateboarders were like nice to talk to me. And, like everyone's like a cool like little family, and everyone's like got everyone's back. I think it's because it's action sports. It's like, I think that something about action sports where it's like you can't not root for everyone, because someone not doing good is like them going to the hospital. So it's like it's not like another sport where it's like, I hope he drops the ball. It's like, no, I hope no one drops the ball. Like I hope we all go out there and do our best, and then whoever wins on the day. But I feel like in action sports it's a different vibe. It's like no one wants anyone to crash because it's just the repercussions are so bad.
And I mean, I think maybe also what, at least from what my experience was that like the level, like if you take it back like 15 years, you know, when they were first landing backflips, you know, or longer now, almost 20 years, when Travis did his double backflip, and like at that point, like it was so much progression in all areas of action sports, and like whether it's BMX or moto or whatever. But then I felt like there was this maybe like a bit of a plateau where like people had pushed the limits so much, and it was like, where do we go from here, kind of thing. Well, and then you came along in the BMX side and started doing like stuff. People were like, what do we call that? Like what, you know?
Yeah, I think it's hard. I think like in everything, it's kind of hard, like because you don't want to. I've always strived to do things that just stand out. Like I know, like but I do the tricks where it's like add an extra whip. Like I did the other day. I did backflip, quint, like 5 tail whips, But to me, like, that is cool. And like, but I suck at tail whips, so that's a different story. But I just knew I could do it, and it took me 4 hours. But I just knew I could do that. But I feel like the really great tricks are the ones that I just totally knew that kind of people go, I didn't even think that was possible. And I feel like back then there was so many tricks that were still available that were like, they were like the mind melting tricks. Like obviously the double backflip. People are like, what? Like one backflip's the craziest thing ever. There's no way you should do two, you know? And then for me, it's like the nothing front bike flip where I throw my bike, it does a front flip while I'm like just floating in the air. To me, that was like, that's cooler to me than doing a backflip quint tail whip. Like, even though backflip quint tail was way harder, when I first did that nothing front bike flip, I feel like that was like an amazing moment, you know? And I feel like it going back to like the plateau, it's like these tricks, like the basic tricks, the double whips, like were crazy on BMX. Then someone did a triple whip, and then it gets to quad whip, and it's like, what? Like quad whip's so hard, but now it's like, it's just another tail whip. Whereas then you just need to find these new tricks or this new way of riding that kind of brings back the spark. You know, it's a great example is more people probably watch the knuckle huck, you know, X Games winter, like the Aspen or whatever. You know, like so many more people now probably like watching the knuckle huck, whereas the big air tricks kind of, they're just, there's so many spins that people like, it's almost lost in the average Joe's mind. Like they don't even contemplate like a 2340. It's like, what? But then they see the knuckle huck and it's like, it just looks different and it like kind of captures their attention again. So I think, yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of on a tangent, but I feel like you just got to kind of capture. I feel like I had a cheat code when I came into BMX because I just did tricks that stood out, but they were like scooter tricks, you know? And that's why they stood out but no one thought to just do them because they're like, no, that's a scooter trick. Maybe they thought like, that's not even possible. Or I feel like most of them just thought like, oh, no, that's a scooter trick. Like, I'm not going to do that. Whereas I was like, I'll do any trick.
But even now, I mean, is anyone doing what you're doing? I mean, is there anyone that's trying any of your tricks?
People do. There's a few people. There's a few people that do try. I mean, like obviously the nothing from bike flip. Logan Martin won the first ever Olympic gold medal, and he did that in his run. So it's kind of crazy in hindsight. Like I don't know how many years after I did it, right? He went to the Olympics and he won a gold medal at the Olympics doing that trick, and it's like that makes me like proud. Like that's something that I love to see because I feel like that's what I'm doing is kind of just like opening people's mind to new tricks. And I feel like the next generation, they'll adopt it, you know, and then they'll say, then people will be winning comps in 10 years doing tricks that I created. And I'll be like, yeah, there's a reason why you're doing those tricks. And then that is so dope to me.
And is that ever something that crossed your mind, like the whole Olympics thing and doing park? Is that ever been on the cards?
For me to do that? No, I mean, so many people ask me that, and it's the same thing as like mountain biking. It's like, yeah, I could Hail Mary and like maybe do well, but these guys dedicate their life. Like I see Logan Martin, and Logan Martin's like up there with Travis Pastrana to me because he lives like 2 hours down the road, but I see like what he puts in. You know, he puts in 110%, and it's just to do BMX park at the Olympics. For 4 years, he trained just to do the Olympics, you know. And then look, he went to the Olympics recently, and he like crashed both runs. And it's like he dedicated 4 years of his life for these 2 seconds, like for literally a minute and 20 seconds, because 2 60-second runs, and then he come off. But he won the first ever Olympic gold, but I know what it took him to do that. And for me, I feel like it's disrespectful for me to say I could go and win gold medals without putting in the same work, you know, that he did. Because he has the same amount of skill, if not more, as me, like natural skill, but he dedicated his life to like 60-second park run.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm happy to commentate it. But if I was to do it, I'd have to put in 4 years of work, or at least like 2 years of work, just doing that, not having the most fun I can on my ramp and doing world's first tricks, because that doesn't like work at a skate park.
And I mean, I'm sure that must have, the fact that you came into dirt as well and like pretty quickly started winning. Like,
if they had, why don't they put dirt in the Olympics? Then we're good. I beat Logan Martin in a dirt contest. So if the Olympics do dirt, then I feel like then Australia can put me up.
What was the sort of reaction from like the riders and stuff? Like when you sort of went over to dirt to X Games and just started winning, like all these guys have been there for years, and then you just rock up and just like, sweet, like I'm gonna just take this gold, baby.
I don't know. I think no, they're like, by this time, I think that the mega ramp was more of a surprise to people, because they kind of counted me out on the quarter, and then all of a sudden I came in and I think so. What happened was, on my first event, I did the front flare and I didn't land my quarter trick, but I like went to the moon, and people were like, what is going on? Like they couldn't believe it, right? And then literally the second mega event I won, and then I never lost. I won every single mega ramp contest after that. And that was when, I guess that's when they were like, this is something going on here. But I think by the time I got to the dirt contest, like I won some other dirt contests that kind of got me into the dirt, like into the dirt event. So by that time they were like expecting, okay, this could happen. Like it wasn't like out of the nowhere.
Yeah, that must have been quite a cool feeling to just like.
I honestly, I surprised myself, because I don't know, like I'm not naturally a dirt rider, but I feel like out of anything in BMX other than the mega ramp, like that was my best chance. So you're not going to see me win a street BMX event ever. Like that would be the one that people would be like, what the fuck? If I won a medal in a street, that would be really surprising.
Out of all the things that you've done, what's been the moment that's been the, like, if you could pick one that's been the best sort of feeling, whether it's landing a new trick or winning a contest or
The best trick I've ever landed was having my son. Legit, no, I feel like having my son has been like the best trick I ever landed. But if I had to pick like in action sports, I feel like the double front flip that I did at Nitro Circus in my first ever show. I was 17 years old, in front of Travis Pastrana, in front of multiple like X Games medalists that were in the show, and just like capitalizing on that opportunity was probably the most important moment in my life. Because if I don't do well in that Nitro Circus, then I don't get to ride the Nitro Circus ramp and learn like new tricks on scooter, and then eventually doing the world's first on BMX. And then it never reaches that point of, it's always just the skate park, from that point. But the Nitro Circus was like a trajectory. Like it just like kickstarted this crazy career, I think, because without that, I'm at the skate park. Like it's kind of, I'm on that same hard road that everyone else is on, that it's like, it's so hard to stand out at the skate park. Obviously I was doing it on scooter, but to stand out on BMX, I would have had to like probably stop scootering and just focus on BMX. And then it's like, am I really the same person in action sports if I don't have that scooter background, and like where people are giving me shit, but then I'm proving them wrong? I feel like it all has worked with each other. I like the fact that people give me shit for riding a scooter, because it made me ride a scooter better and harder to prove them wrong, like to make it cool. And then I had this like fire in me that was born from the animosity that I got riding scooters, that when I got on a BMX bike and then they gave me the same kind of like, oh, it's lame, he's doing scooter tricks, or it's only like to resi, so it doesn't count, like it's easy. And then it lights a fire in my ass to go, okay, well then I'll just do even better, or I'll just go to X Games and I'll land it on wood, or I'll do this trick to dirt. So it like proves them wrong. And I've always loved that. It's almost like it's almost like the driving force of my career. So taking it back all the way, that double front flip, man, like if I didn't land that, or it didn't give me the opportunity to go on Nitro Circus, then I wouldn't have got as much shit for riding a scooter, because I would have just been in the background riding scooters, not in the forefront. And I don't know, yeah. So that moment to me is probably the most important of my action sports career. And it's funny because not people probably even know about it. Like, it's not like, to me, like the average Joe probably thinks like winning X Games gold medal is like the most important, but I wouldn't have got to that gold medal or the invite maybe without that moment.
You know, what's the earning potential like, and like prize money, and what's the state of the sport like? Because I can tell you from a mountain biking perspective, it is shocking. It's really, really bad. And obviously guys rely on sponsorships and stuff. I mean, what is it? Obviously you've done it like X Games, Nitro. I have no idea like how that even works. Like, you know, you just see the guys win a medal, but you don't know what sort of goes on behind the scenes. So,
Well, it's definitely like a good, like you're definitely stoked to win an X Games gold, because I think it's like, I'd always say this, I don't know if it's like a secret thing, but I like $23,000 for first, like for a gold medal in like dirt or park or street. But then the best trick is like, it's less, it's 10,000 for first. But then you still get like your bonuses from your sponsors. Like Monster's a huge sponsor for me, because they're like one of the really good bonuses. Like if you get on the podium at X Games, then it's a great bonus. So like if you have the right sponsors and then win an X Games gold, like you pretty much almost win like I guess the wages have gone up, but you win like a lot. So you win enough to be happy. Let's just say if I got 2 gold medals in 1 year, like I'm probably pretty sweet. Like, but then I got sponsors, and then there's more than just X Games contests. So yeah, no, I mean it's good, but obviously don't just rely. I don't know. You just when you grow, if you're like an amateur and you're wanting to be a pro and like ride BMX for a living, then I feel like it's very important to focus on other avenues as well. Like obviously my social media, like doing YouTube, doing social media well is a way to not worry too much about if you're relying on winning these contests and that's your income, then that's not the right way to be going about. But it's definitely like a great bonus if you can win it.
and like something like the Nitro Tour, how does that work?
Well,
I mean, you don't have to.
That's
like,
where you want to be.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, that's where you want to be, because that's like obviously you're not winning the prize money. Like it's not the same as the prize money. But guess what, mate? You land on your head at Nitro Circus, you get paid. You land a new world's first, you get paid the same. If you fall in the first half, but you do the rest of the show injured, like you get paid. It's not. That's why I feel like that's my favorite. That's my like favorite thing. And it's always been like my main source of income is just Nitro Circus, because it's like I'll choose Nitro Circus over doing a contest, because it's guaranteed like pay no matter what you do, how you land. It's all about entertainment, and I feel like when it's so much funner and it's so much better to do like Nitro Circus than a contest. But the contest gets you the clout, let's just say that, and then Nitro Circus is where is my job.
Yeah, I mean, maybe on that topic, we were talking about like sponsors, stuff like that. Like, I wanted to get your opinion. As you can see my cap, I'm actually sponsored by Onlyfans.
Yeah.
I don't know what's your thoughts. So they've like made a big push. They're a sponsor of mine, but they've got like 300 athletes now across the world. What's your sort of thoughts on like, because obviously we're not doing football, rugby, like things that bring in huge money. Yeah, what's your opinion on sponsors like that coming into action sports?
Mate, it's epic. I think it's brilliant. Actually, I don't subscribe to your OnlyFans. I'm sorry. I don't have OnlyFans because I've got a fiance. But maybe I could get it just to get maybe Mighty Mouse. I think he's a UFC fighter. He has it. So maybe I'll download it. But I think my missus might get a bit curious of what I'm subscribed to. But no, there's actually a good BMX rider. I don't Garrett Reynolds. Garrett Reynolds, I think, is sponsored by OnlyFans, and like he's the best in the world. He's probably the greatest BMX rider in the world. But I think any sponsors coming into BMX is a great thing. I think it's smart. I think that obviously even scooter riding, like if you're sponsoring scooter riders, I think it's a great idea because I don't know about the community in mountain biking or I don't know the community in a whole in BMX, but I feel like scooters is like a tight-knit community. So any kind of sponsor that we got back in the day, everyone was like, whoa, this is the best thing ever. And like when I got sponsored by Monster, that was actually one of the things why I didn't get sponsored for a while was because of the scooter thing. And then they were worried about like, is scootering going to like affect, I think they thought that it was going to affect their other Monster athletes. Like they're going to care. But then I got sponsored and no one cares. So it's like, and in scootering, it's a huge thing. Like I'm sure more people in scootering drink Monsters because I am sponsored by Monster. So I think, anything like that is great. I mean, I don't know. I don't even know what the problem would be with OnlyFans sponsoring action sports. Obviously, if you're doing like how-tos, if it's a great platform, which it probably is, it's like a well-established platform. And if you have how-tos or you have exclusive, footage or videos that you want to be able to give to people that want to like for a fee, then it's like probably a great app to use.
Is
sponsored by OnlyFans.
Honest question. So would you be on OnlyFans? Would you sign for OnlyFans if the offer was there?
Oh yeah, me and my fiance were thinking about getting on it.
Okay. I'll put it out.
Definitely I would. I actually, because I always wanted to do like how-tos. I feel like I have a really interesting way of like going about tricks, and I feel like I have a pretty good way of teaching tricks. Because I've done a few camps with kids and like teaching them how to learn tricks, and I feel like in my mind, I can simulate like tricks, so it's like I can kind of speak people through it. So I've always been pretty good at that. So if that was like a thing that I could work out, I feel like there's some how-tos I could definitely make with them.
I'll put in a good word.
I'll leave some space in my helmet.
Yeah. And on that topic as well, obviously OnlyFans, like Wildside, I'm sure there must have been some pretty epic parties after winning some contests. Is there one that comes to mind? Like what's like the craziest story that you can think of from over the years?
That's a good one. I'm a year and like 3 weeks sober now.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I haven't had a drink of alcohol for a year and 3 weeks. So, but that's because I went to the UFC in Anaheim. Like I went to this UFC, and at the time I was like only drinking beers because I'd like black out on any hard alcohol. I don't know. It's probably the head knots, but so I was just like, yeah, I'll just drink beer. Like I can drink and not forget anything if I just drink beer. Anyway, I went to that UFC Anaheim and I had like 14 beers because they're free. So I had like 14 beers, fully blacked out, and then but this is like I was good all the way up until the first and last the main event and co-main event, and it was like Australian fighters. So I'm in like the front row at the UFC, right? And I wasn't I was just obnoxious, like I was just yelling, like I was really excited because it was the Australian fighters it was Volkanovski versus someone else, and then it was like Robert Whittaker versus Paulo Costa. And what I do remember is like, Paulo Costa, I don't know if you're familiar with the UFC, but anyway, if anyone is, Paulo Costa looks like Ricky Martin. You know, the guy that's living the vida loca. Like, he kind of looks like that guy. So I'm like, fuck you, Ricky Martin. Like, living the vida loca. Like, just being an absolute idiot. And it'd be fine. It'd be fine if I wasn't, like, in the front row, you know? But I'm in the front row, like, in front of important people. And they're like, look at this dumbass, like, being obnoxious. But I didn't remember, and I woke up the next day. I'm like, oh, how good was that? Was so good. And my fiance is like, oh, you don't remember, do you? And I'm like, what do you mean? And she showed me this video, and to this day, if I ever thought about having a drink, and she showed me this video, like I'm on my chair, like nah. I'm like nah. I can't get to that state again. So anyway, I was like, I'll do 100 days sober because sometimes I do that, like before important contests. And then my fiance got pregnant, and then she couldn't drink. So then I was like, I won't drink with you. And then by the time I had my son, it was only 2 months until a year. So then I ended up a year sober, and here I am, like a year and 3 weeks. But yeah, I'm probably going to have a drink, but it's good to do a year, because I feel like if you're an Australian, you probably haven't had a year off drinking since you're like 14 years old, because that's me. Like, since I was 14 years old, I don't think I've had a year off drinking until now.
That's wild, man. That's impressive.
That was a massive story. That was a long story, but yeah, I'm sure there's some great moments I could think of. But anyway,
I was actually, one question I was going to ask you is, you got any regrets from your career so far? I'm assuming that evening might be one of them.
I don't regret it, because it led into everything. Happens for a reason, right? Because, I might have not, like, maybe I didn't make a fool of myself then, and then I made a fool of myself another time, like, and then maybe I wouldn't have stopped myself from drinking and made a worse mistake, like, well, even though it wasn't a mistake, maybe I would have made a bigger fool of myself down the road. So I count everything as like just a little blessing. You got to think about stuff like that. But maybe, I don't know. I wish in my first X Games I didn't get so excited and crash, because I feel like I could have won my first X Games. But in saying that, it just gave me more driving force in my second X Games, and then I never lost the mega rank contest after that. So, regret. Just, you can always regret the injuries, but then I always tell myself that if I didn't separate my shoulder, which isn't even that bad, like, maybe then the next week I would have broken my first bone, Sometimes it's just, you got to always see things as a blessing in disguise. Even if you think something good didn't come out of it, it might have prevented you from something worse happening in your life.
Yeah, 100%. I've come to realize that as well. As like, even when things are bad at the time, and you think like, why is this happening? Most of the time, there's always something after the fact that comes out, and you're like, okay, well, maybe that's why that happened, or there's a silver lining to things. And even myself, I've got a hip replacement on the one side as well. But like through all the injuries as well, like, there's been so much positive, and in a way, even though it sucked, like, I'm kind of not glad it happened, but I think I wouldn't be who I am today if that didn't happen. So it's kind of hard to be like, oh, I regret it, because then maybe we wouldn't be having this conversation today. So
100%. And it's like, there's just like, if I didn't get teased for riding a scooter, like, that, maybe I wouldn't have had this fire that drove me through my life. It's hard for me to pinpoint like the drive, where I got my drive from, but I feel like it must have been from back then, when people would just give me crap, and like, I wanted to prove them wrong. And then I had this like fire and motivation that I could just dive into myself, and like, I could just motivate myself just automatically somehow with that. And then now it's like, I don't even know. People like ask me, oh, what motivates you now? Like, if I'm 4 hours into a trick, like, what picks me off the ground and makes me try again? And it's almost hard to, it's almost hard to pinpoint, because it's just automatic. It's become automatic within me. And without like the struggles that I had growing up and riding the scooter or whatever, doing whatever, or even getting teased at school, it's like, without that, I wouldn't have what I have today. So it's like important to just push on, and know that in 5 years' time, you'll look back and you'll probably be grateful for the struggle that you're having.
Talking about the struggles, talk to me about the double backflip to fakie.
Oh, shit. My biggest regret is not just landing that already. It's so annoying, because like, like, I've had 9 opportunities to land it now. And like, in the hindsight, like, that trick should take a lot more than 9 tries to even, like, if I was to just go to the skate park today and do it, like, I would expect it. That is a trick that I would expect to take maybe not more than 9 tries, So it's kind of it's hard to it's hard to capture it in a bottle. Like it's hard to, capture the magic in the jar when there's so much pressure to do it. But I just know that I know it's right there. So it's like, I'm never going to give up on it. And it's just like any other trick. Like I've been born with this blessing and curse of not being able to give up. And luckily, like at the skate park, you have unlimited time almost, like until it gets dark or your phone dies, you can't film it. But I'm ready to land it. And third time's a charm. I think it's going to be in Japan. So as long as there's a ramp to get it done, then I'll send it. And the problem with that trick, is that there's no way to practice it. Even the best way I've found to practice it is I have a 10-foot quarter at RWilly, and I put like a flat bag next to it, and I kind of have to double flip and like guess, like, okay, I have someone film on the side, and I just film them from the side, and I just hope that like I'm coming down in the correct position. But then the real practice is when I'm actually trying it to the quarter, because it's different. Because even just going to the side a little bit makes you not pop out as much. It makes you kind of come forward. So then it's like, you can never really simulate it that much. But I've had enough practice now straight to the quarter that the next try's it.
You need to have someone to you need to hit the ramp, start flipping, and while you're flipping, someone like slides a bag underneath.
Could you imagine that? Like that would be terrifying. But yeah. Or like some sort of airbag system that it's like when you run into the wall, an airbag, like the car airbag, you know how it just inflates? Like, so it's just, I go past it and it fills up. But no, I'll just try the trick. It'll be right.
And as you mentioned earlier, if your phone dies, like I feel like these days, if it's not recorded on your phone, like it didn't happen. Like like you started with social media obviously long ago, and you mentioned how important that is. Like how do you feel about social media? Is that something, because I mean obviously you're clearly doing something right, but at the same time I know for me, like that also can bring like a lot of pressure and stuff to like constantly be getting content out. Like what's your feeling about the social media side? And
I feel like my opinion on it actually has probably gotten a bit worse, because I just feel like it's so hard now to like get something that goes viral or get something that people will click on. I feel like it's become so diluted. Like there's so much content that it's hard to stand out in the crowd. Whereas I feel like it used to be like when I was young, I almost didn't realize the opportunity that I had in front of me, and I was kind of a little bit lazy. Whereas now I'm like, whoa, if I had that opportunity now, like I would be grinding so hard, because back in the day, like I'd get 100,000 views, like easy, like doing just a video that's not even that great, and like everyone was about it. And then to me now, to get 100,000 views is like, it's like a great video on YouTube, whereas I would have been upset if my video got 100,000 views back in the day. And it's just like, perspective is crazy. But then that's when I feel sorry for people today trying to stand out, because there's so many people like, doing it and trying to work their way up. Whereas back in the day, it wasn't so prevalent, and like people didn't even worry about it. Like it wasn't such a big deal, and now it's a huge deal. But then everyone's trying to do it now. So it's even harder to stand out. So I don't know. But it is at the end of the day, it is a great thing, but it brings a lot of it allows people what it does allow is a lot of negativity to flow into what you're doing and maybe affect you more than what it used to. But I don't know, because there's a lot more negativity. I feel like back in the day, especially for me on scooter, like obviously there was negative comments. I can't say there wasn't negative comments, but I feel like I didn't worry about those people because it was the outsiders. But in scootering, like everyone was just positive. It was like, yeah, this is the best thing ever. This is incredible. Like, this is so cool. Thanks for making these videos. Whereas now everyone's making the videos, so people aren't really. They're like, oh, everyone does it, so it's not appreciated as much. If you know what I mean, like it's like, oh, I don't know. Yeah, people don't understand how much work goes into it, but But now to stand out, you have to put even more work into it, I feel. So it's crazy.
I remember like when YouTube kind of just started, like, I don't know exactly when it started, but I mean, I think I posted my first video on YouTube in like 2012, but like, honestly, I didn't think it was like a POV or something like that. And like, I didn't put any effort in like for 10 years pretty much. And then like looking back, I'm like, man, what an opportunity everyone had or missed at the time, like having YouTube, because like now to have like growth or have big views and stuff, as you're saying, like someone like you struggling to get 100K views, like it's like, what do you need to do? You need to be like, I don't know, jumping out of a space shuttle or something to get people to click on your video. It's like,
yeah, right. And then now even with like people that like Mr. Beast, that they just like, it's incredible the production that he does, and like, but it's just like people just expect, they're like, if you're not like doing the best footage, then it's kind of hard to capture a new audience. Like, whereas there's some people though that like they've already captured that family, and they like, and that's why I'm grateful, because I've already captured like a set people that will watch all my videos when I post them, and I'm so grateful for that. But I just feel bad for the people coming up. It's just so hard to stand out and like and capture a family, and then it's just so much work. But yeah, I wish that it's like real estate. You're like, I wish I bought a house. I wish I bought 3 houses when I bought my first one. I'd be rich. You just, the hindsight's 2020. But just know that now, in 10 years from now, like you're probably going to be saying that to yourself about like things that you're thinking about doing. In 10 years, you'll be like, I wish I did that. Like, I wish I just capitalized, or even, yeah. So even the people grinding right now, you're probably going to say to yourself in 10 years, I wish I didn't quit on myself, even though it was so hard then. In 10 years, it might be worse. So don't give up. Just keep pushing on.
Hopefully I'm telling myself that about the podcast and be like, sweet, like that was a good idea to start the podcast.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
What do you reckon you'd be like if you hadn't been able to be an action sports athlete? Have you ever thought about what you might have done with your life besides throwing yourself down mega ramps?
Do you know what so when I was in school, I did pretty well at school. I got the award for Entrepreneur Award or whatever. It was like most likely to succeed was the Entrepreneur Award. I got it from the mayor. I don't know how you say it, but yeah. And then so I went through school. I got accepted into university and to be a civil engineer. I got in to be a civil engineer in university, and then in Australia you can defer for a year. So it's like where you take a year off to like just chill and relax for a year or work. And so I chose to do that. And in that like, well, because I did Nitro Circus when I was in grade 12. So I got into Nitro Circus when I was still in school, but I was in my last year, right? So I wasn't sure exactly. I wasn't betting on it. Let's just say that. And then, so I got into university, and then I was like, okay, I'm going to defer for a year and work and do Nitro Circus, like work, right? And so I took the year off to do Nitro Circus, and then I'm not being a civil engineer anymore. I'm doing this. So, but so I probably would have been a civil engineer, or maybe I would have transferred that into something else. Like maybe I would have designed skate parks. Maybe I would have, I don't know what I would have done. Like I'm scared to know. I would have been so boring. I'd like think about it a little bit. I feel like I've still got. I feel like I've gotten 5 years easy, like just still pushing myself, pushing the limits as much as possible. Then after that, I don't know. Like I obviously don't want to. I don't want to be like the guy that's just out there hurting himself, or like not even like trying to outdo myself, because I've always been super calculated. So it's like, if I stay calculated, then that means that when it's not worth it, I'm not going to do it. So there's probably is a point where I'm going to reach that. But I think that, I don't know, in 5 years, hopefully I've freaking made enough money that I don't need to worry about doing any, concreting, because I've done some concrete and it sucked at RWilly land. It's so hard. It's so much. It makes me, when I was doing it, I'm like, I'd rather triple front flip a BMX bike than do any more hours of this, but I think that I could do some camps at my land, like set up our RWilly land so that it's not just for the pro riders, like make it so that I can kind of teach people, like have camps and drive them to skate parks, then let them ride our RWilly land and kind of progress in that. Because that'd be cool. And like, obviously I'm not expecting to make millions of dollars doing that, but it would just be like a cool job, you know. Or then I've done some commentating for FIS. I commentated the Olympics for Australia. Just anything in action sports. Just be a part of action sports, obviously. Kind of like Travis, you know. If I can reach that level and just be in action sports, then I feel like that's my ultimate goal. But I don't know, if I have to do some sort of work, then I guess I'll do it. But yeah, I'm hoping that I can make enough money and win enough contests and do enough world first that it kind of it pushes me to the level of just being a cool guy for a living.
You don't feel like you don't feel like following Travis and start racing rally.
Dude, what'd you say? Following Trav and what?
And racing and starting rally racing.
Oh yeah, that'd be cool too. But I suck with an engine, mate. I don't know about you. Like,
Really?
Well, look, I'm on a 110. I'm all right, but any bigger motorbike than that, I suck. And then like my car, I just drive it from A to B. I drive the speed limit. I'm pretty boring, so I just like what it looks like. I don't care how fast it goes. So we'll see. Who knows? Like I've been asked to do nitrocross a few times, but then nitrocross isn't a thing anymore at the moment. So I don't know. We'll see.
Dude, I got one question I ask all the guests to end off. And that's, what's the meaning of success to you? Like what would you need to do to be successful in your life?
What would I need to do to be successful? I feel like I've almost done it. I feel like as long as you have a job that you're happy doing, like I literally get paid to do what I love. And I feel like there's no better job than that. Like you could give me any other job that maybe even it pays me more, but if it's grueling or if it takes like, it just doesn't make you happy, then I would take the job that you love and enjoy doing. And just as long as you can make a living, have a roof over your head, feed your family, that's like the most important thing. Especially like to me, it's always, once I made enough money that I could help my family out and have a roof over my head, be able to create our RWilly land, everything extra, I haven't even spent. I never buy a crazy car. I just kind of save it and just want to, you know, every dollar over the amount that gets you a happy living is like, it's not really, you don't even think about it. It's like not even a worry. So just know that like the most important things are the people around you. And if there's positive energy around you and your friends and family are all happy, then that's the biggest achievement. That's the most success you'll gain in life.
Dude, totally agree. This has been awesome, man.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for coming on.
Chilling, mate. Too easy. All the best.
If you guys enjoyed this episode, please like and subscribe. And to see more episodes, click the link right up here.
That was iconic.